Hello, ladies and gents.
Hello.
Great start. Welcome back to another episode of the Off-Air Voiceover Podcast. My name, of course, is Michael.
Are you sure? And mine is Jen.
Wow, great start.
We are smooth today, as per usual. And we've got a guest with us today, as you will hopefully have seen. And we've got the wonderful Rolf Veldman with us today.
Yeah, Rolf, honestly, thanks
Tricky name.
so much for taking the
Yeah,
time.
it was for me right then, sorry. So I had the pleasure of meeting Rolf at the One Voice conference, and it was really lovely to meet you. And I was really impressed. I think, to be honest, I probably had some internal biases about what Voice 123 stood for, maybe, and what you might be like as a CEO, and all these things I probably need to look at myself. But you were incredibly honest, and we want to share that with our listeners as well, so they could maybe get more of the inside scoop on what Voice 123 is like, and then they can make the decision for themselves whether it's for them.
Yeah.
Sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Like I had an amazing time as well at the One Voice conference. Like it was nice. I know it's.
Sorry.
Come again? Sorry.
No, sorry. Go on. Sorry, I didn't mean.
No, yeah. So I think I learned a lot about you and your friend about the UK society. Besides just
That was Kelly Condren.
Yeah. So all topics were discussed, but it was mostly a lot of fun to see people who work from their booth. Like Voice on 3 is also a company that most people work from home, so we don't get out and about so much. It's nice to meet with a group of people that all work in the same industry and then just talk shop a little bit for.
Yeah, it was a
all
lot
my
of
family
fun.
members don't understand. I have no clue what I'm doing. So this is.
I still got major FOMO about it. Like, I missed 2023. I did 22 and 24, and I ended up having to miss 25. But it was one of those. I thought, yeah, it'd be all right. 24 was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I would still always go. But then 25, everyone's just like best.
It was the best year. It was the best year yet.
Right, of course it was.
And not because you weren't there or anything, but you know.
That one person missing was like, it was just infinitely better. Like,
Yeah.
So as we briefly spoken just before we recorded, obviously this whole season with three. Oh my word, what is wrong with me today? With season 3 of this podcast, we're trying to sort of talk about casting quite a lot, and casting is quite a broad term. I think a lot of people align it to maybe gaming or things like that, but casting is such a broad term and it involves every aspect of
Everything.
voiceover. And obviously, Voice 123 being one of the biggest platform sites out there for casting. We thought it'd be amazing to have a chat with you about it, but not just because of it being a casting site, but I think also, I mean, I've always said on previous episodes of the pod that I'm a fan of the platform. I've done well off it, but I similarly tell people to go on there, and try it, and they've had a terrible time of it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of misconceptions that how it works, what doesn't work, etc. And I just thought it'd be great to have a conversation with you because obviously the landscape's changing, and now you've got 11 labs
100%.
on there, which I really want to deep dive into later. There's a lot of uncertainty about where AI voices factors in, and now when you see it on a P2P website, they think, oh, right, are they scraping all the voices and selling us off? So there's a lot of hysteria, there's a lot of fear and stuff, and I thought it'd be good just to have a chat about it and just sort of try and sort of understand more about the platform from your perspective, and maybe sort of, because there's certain things I probably don't know that I've got some questions written down that people have asked us, and I think it'd be great to try and sort of understand more about the platform from your side, and then sort of ask questions as well, and vice versa, and go from there. So I suppose really to kick things off, like I said at the beginning, there are some people that they go on there and they feel like the only way to get work on there is if you pay the top tier fee, and that's the only way you get the auditions, otherwise you don't bother. And that's not strictly true, is it? Because I know firsthand, my story on there is I went on the 2,200 plan. I did well off it, and then I came off and I went on the 395 plan. But because I think Voice 123 works well if it's a strategy. Like, there's a way to make it work, I think, but you've got to approach it the right way. And I found that when I came down to the 395 plan, I was still getting the same amount of auditions that I was from the 22 plan because I'd managed it a certain way. So this is what I was saying to people. It's not true that you just have to go up there to the top and get the work. It does obviously help. But from your perspective, what would you suggest to people that they're either on the platform already and not having a great time on it, or people who are thinking about going on the platform? What would your words to them be to get the most out of it?
Yeah. So I think let's start at the beginning in this case, because like I often feel that people make the mistakes to talk about casting sites in general. But if you would go on Bidalgo, or if you would go on Voices, or I mean, they're 10 per country. Like, all these different casting sites have a different logic and a different way of doing. Like, there's a couple of ground rules that are are not universal, right? So in Voice on 3, what is important is that we send you a lot of audition, but we do ask you to be mindful of which you are auditioning for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Which is different than compared to other sites where you just can endlessly audition and there's no corrective behavior in there. But we work with an algorithm that we have designed almost 20 years ago, and maybe it has changed 5% here and there, but fundamentally it works the same, is that we look at two items. We look at the membership plan that you have, and we look at the feedback that the client gives us. It used to be a star rating, now it's a like system, but we use 50% of both. And that depends whether you get invitations first or maybe in a second batch or a third batch or a fourth batch. But before you get started on a place like Voice on 3, I wouldn't worry too much about the algorithm. I would worry a lot about how to set up your profile, because it's fundamentally different than in other places. And that's where I feel most voice actors on Voice on 3 make that mistake. It baffles me every time that I think only 20% of the actors on Voice on 3 have a completed profile. And it's so important for us because we make all of our decision based on the information that you have there. So you need to fill out a basic picture, you have to have a tagline, you have to have a piece of content telling about yourself, but more importantly, you have to upload a lot of individual samples, not so much demos. If you have a demo, try to cut them up into pieces and upload the samples. Give them tags, we call them, like descriptive words of what they are about, because that's what we use to match you in our search feature, for example.
I was just going to just pause one quick there, because that's one thing I was going to ask you, because I've seen that where you can have like two tags and it says like describe a brand that you think this relates to, and it's like I think in the example it's like Nike or something. And I've struggled with that sometimes as how to place that correctly. So and understanding how, like, would a customer go on there and say we want, because I don't understand the customer side of it. Would they go and say as a tag? Would they be like we want someone who sounds like the Nike advert, for example?
Yeah,
really?
Is that
the kind of thing they're typing?
Really?
Yeah.
No
it
way.
is that simple. Like, I heard this commercial, who's that voice actor? Let me go to the Google of voiceover, which for a lot of people, that's what Voice 1 to 3 is. Let me see if I can find that actor or an actor that sounds similar to them. Still, the most searched keyword on our search is Morgan Freeman. Yeah, the Morgan Freeman voice is one of the top 5 most searched voice, because it's the one thing that people associate with voiceover.
It's iconic, isn't it?
No way.
So be mindful of that. So what happens is that if clients land on, so there's 2 ways you can book voice actors on Voice on the 3. One is you post a project and you receive a lot of auditions. Yeah. That used to be 80% of what Voice on 3 was. More and more it's gotten to 50-50 state where clients tend to go to the other side of the platform, which is I just want to go through essentially a directory of all the voice actors we have, and I want to filter and search my way through it. In most cases, they only listen to the top 5 people they see just statically in the search. Yeah. But if they start filtering, then it doesn't matter anymore which membership plan you have. All we look at is your sample. Whether you are a free member, whether you are a platinum member, or whether it doesn't matter which tier of membership you have, will match the most relevant one.
So the first page of results, that's more tailored towards if you're on like the premium plan. But then if they start to filter things for more specific, that's when it's a free-for-all.
Yeah. But you said 50-50 between likes and the plan.
No, so we have 2 algorithms essentially.
Sorry. For the one.
Yeah, I know. Like this is the number one mistake that we've made.
Yeah.
We haven't been clear, and we haven't been found a way to explain this properly.
Well, let's do it now. Let's sort it out now.
Something goes wrong when we actually have to. So fundamentally, we have 2. So let's call it the audition algorithm, right?
Yeah.
And that's the project form. We look at we look at some basic things. Do you offer the right language? Do you have the gender they request? Like some basic fundamental stuff. And then we look at membership plan and performance. And the performance is your top 10 or top 20 or top 30 score, right? There's 2 ways you can influence that. When you audition, a client goes through all those auditions, and they tend to like as a way to
or not
tend to like as a mini favorite list for them, like these are the ones that match for me. The second way to get information to us is if that proposal turns into a booking. So it's not a direct booking, it's a booking that's connected to an actual audition. And we use those as indicators of thinking, okay, this was a success. Is it the best kind of metric? No, because most voice actors will tell us, I don't get booked that way.
Yeah.
What happens is the client sends me a message because I have sent my email, or the client goes to my profile, goes to my website, even goes to LinkedIn and says, I found you on Voice on 3.
Yeah.
So we don't have that information, so we have to do with our next best guess. We would love that information, but the downside of this is that we have to close the system further. That means that we have to prevent people from going off the platform, and we have to force clients to go through a booking system. And we know that both sides of the aisle don't like that.
Yeah, I mean that. Sorry, Mikey.
Yeah, just before I forget, I wonder if there's a way to get around that. Because 90% of my bookings that I would get are exactly like that. They'll either send me a DM or off the back of an audition, or they'll email me directly. And I wonder, to try and track that measurement, if maybe you could implement something where because if you've auditioned for it, that's why they've come to you. You could go back into that audition and from a drop down saying, I booked this job via
we have
website.
That. We have that right. If we force it, we get complaints all over the shop of clients no longer wanting to use it because they find it annoying.
No, I mean for the voiceover, I'd do it.
There's a lot of trust there isn't there?
We did that in the past as well, and then suddenly every voice actor gets booked for
every job.
Oh, I see, right. Okay.
So we've tried, we're open to any kind of change because we tried different paths. Right now what we can do is, for example, if you're a voice actor, you can pre-fill a booking and at least tell the client, can you at least accept this, it's related to this project, or that might be the cleanest way to do it. But we have to always have a fail-safe of the client saying, yes, this is the case.
Yeah.
We even had a group of voice actors, about 20, they all created client accounts, posted projects, invited themselves, give them each other likes, book them, and then they game the algorithm that way. People are always trying to game
little fuckers. Who's got the time for that as well? That is.
Yeah. So we have to balance our way with people trying to. I would do the same. I would try to find hacks.
Would you? I'm way too honest. I just couldn't do that.
Not that specific way, but I would try to find a way to optimize my profile, optimize my score, right? But we have to.
Yeah.
We have to walk a fine line between only working with the information we have, and that's why we use a year's worth of data, for example, because it's so. If we only look at 3 projects, there's a couple of clients that never use the liking system, right? But that's why we look at a year's worth of data among all the voice actors, and based on all those additions, it's the most relevant statistic we have. But it's not perfect, but it's the most relevant we have. It's the one that we've used for the last 20 years. So we're kind of anxious to let go of it unless we have proven to find something better.
Yeah.
And while we're iterating on it, we haven't found anything particular better that doesn't go at the expense of us closing down the platform more and becoming more like other sites where you get punished if you move your work off platform.
Because for me, that's one of the best things about Voice 123 is that that client belongs to me now. So we can come off platform and then I can nurture that, and it can, it's repeat work, isn't it? So you're the only, platform that I'm on because of that reason.
One of the founders was a voice actress. And so we know that it is relatively easy to get started in voiceover, right? You can just quote unquote buy a mic and get started. But to actually build a career in voiceover, it turns out it is a lot of performance, but it's mostly relationship management.
Yeah.
Right? And the people who stay in voiceover are the ones that turn that one client into a repeat client, and that's what hopefully over time becomes 30 or 40%, and if you over time maybe even more, that becomes the bulk of your work, and then while you bring in new stuff. So that's, I feel, how if you're a voice actor, you should view Voice 123 as well. You should buy a membership, and then within 2 years you should get 5 or 10x what you invested back.
Yeah, I remember you saying this the other day as well, or the other week, the 5 to 10%. And I don't know about you, Mikey, but I've not reached that level yet. I've did my maths, Rolf, after our last conversation, and worked out on my little scrappy post-its.
Sorry, what conversion are you tracking? Sorry.
So let's say you spend $400 on Voice 123.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm speaking dollars because we're mostly US focused, but let's say it's £400. And within 2 years, that needs to be 2,000. Mm-hmm. And that needs to be 2,000 from either all different single jobs, or it needs to be 2,000 from that one client that keeps booking you over time.
Yeah.
We don't know the second part. We don't see a lot of this. We don't see who gets booked or not booked. We only see bookings in 10% of the cases, because most, like I said, happens out of our platform. Yeah. But based on the surveys that we did, I feel that should be a ratio. If you're not hitting that, then Voice on 3 might not be the right place, because then you have to factor in, let's say you spend £400 and you get 1,000 back in 2 years, but you spend an average of 5 hours or 10 hours, maybe even 20 hours a week on Voice on 3, then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right? Because
they obviously, with all of this is caveated with the fact that it is mainly a US-based site in terms of the work that's on there. So I just don't see that many auditions that I could spend that much time on there as well. And often they're not appropriate, or they're quite low paid and I don't go for them, or whatever as well. So it's all under that kind of caveat.
Yeah, I think it's 90% of our users look for American voiceovers.
Is it that many? Wow.
It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that it is they are from the US, because the US voiceovers are also one of the most popular voices outside of the US.
Yeah.
The other thing is also true that a lot of Americans are looking for UK voices, right? Because it brings a different kind of feeling to their advertisements. And I think that's the most common type of client that might be on there. But to be honest, I'm not sure. I'm wondering if you can back that up by the couple of clients that have booked you. Do they tend to be from the UK or do they tend to be from the US?
What about you, John?
It's a real mix for me. I've had Hong Kong, Italy, America, Canada, and the UK.
I'd say 80% of mine are from the UK.
Oh.
I've had a few recently that are from the US. They've gone in a UK direction, but predominantly it's always been UK. Just a couple of things I want to mention that you touched on. You mentioned before. You know, with the liking system when you send an audition, do clients have an option to ineffectively thumbs down? Because maybe somebody sends an audition through where their audio quality is very poor, something like that.
It
So
doesn't, and also doesn't impact. No, we don't have that.
Right.
What they could do is, and this is something that both sides have asked, is to be able to block a person from being to block a voice actor from being invited to the project again, and the other way around as well. I no longer want to receive anything from this client. It's not used that much. Only some of the power users, where they keep seeing the same actors that they've declined, and they no longer want to see them.
Right.
That tends to be.
But if
done
that
every now and then. But
if
that's
that
the
was-
only way.
If that was to happen, if somebody say blocked me or Jen, they don't want to see it, would that have a negative impact on our standing in the algorithm?
No, the algorithm is only likes.
Right, gotcha.
It's only that. It's
So Sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what about bookings? How much does that have an effect on it as well?
same as one booking counts as one like, but only if the booking comes from a casting.
Right, okay, so if it's
So if
from
I find
DM,
you on a search and I book you directly, it has nothing to do with the audition process in our mind. It's
Okay,
that
yeah.
they find you on your profile name, contact you
Yeah.
directly, right? So it has not. We Voice and 3 lives in a strange world where basically our bills get paid by the voice actors,
Yeah.
but we work for the clients, right?
Okay.
We have to have those things in mind. So the only way we work is, the only reason we exist is because we bring jobs to voice actors, and the only reason we exist is for our clients. They find the right voice actor, and in our case, what they like the most is the amount of voice actors we have, the volume and the diversity of that, and we. Part of the reason we had a membership in the first place was to make sure that we have a group of dedicated, high-quality actors. As soon as we had for a while a non-paying version of this, and it was hard to. If people don't pay for a product, they're less invested. So we need a couple of people who are really invested in Voice on 3. Those are the elite plans. Like we have a group of 40 people in each gender that pay the highest tier, and we cap it at that. But one of the reasons is that we always have high-quality people in every audition, so we can tell the client, look at these people. We have these. And then we have the full range of every voice actor in every project. But essentially, we exist by the grace of the voice actors because we give them jobs, but only because we find the clients. Therefore, 90% of our work is focused on getting new clients.
Okay. Can I ask a couple of things then? So,
Please.
do you happen to know, off the top of your head, how many British voices are on your site?
I mean, you can see that on the membership page.
How often is that
Okay.
updated?
Yeah, so let me just go there right now. So we made a change of our plans in 2019,
Oh, I see. Okay.
and we made a huge mistake. We made it only numbers. So what we wanted to show is this is everybody on Voice on 3. So with every plan you chose, let's say you select, currently I'm on French European, I can see that there is, look at the starter plans, there's about 3,800 people in French European in my gender. So if you go to UK, if I change my language to English UK, let me see, English British, we have
Oh, I
about
see. Okay.
24,000 people that are active right now.
Okay. But if I'm, say, looking at the 395 one, it looks like there's 427.
Yeah.
Competing
British.
in that bracket.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's all genders. So you
All
can
genders,
safely
yeah.
cut it in half, which means that if you're on that plan, you're competing with about 200 other people.
I have to say, it's not as many as I thought.
And so everyone else is just on a free plan, aren't they? Then they're all just registered with the website.
So that's how it counts up. So if you're in the 2200 plan, you're only competing with 80.
Yeah.
But you're not in some respect, because if someone's got a free plan but got loads and loads of likes, then they're also going to be getting.
Well, there is a corrective element there. Like,
okay.
We do feel that if you have a free plan, it should be very complex to overtake a 2200 plan, right?
I would hope so, in a way.
So the 2200 plan needs to be at the bottom 10.
Yeah.
And the other person needs to be at the top 1 for that to happen. So there's a part of this is that it is like we try to prevent pay your way to the top.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we don't only want people with cash to take
Absolutely,
over.
definitely agree with that.
Correctives, but there's also an element to it, right? I shouldn't deny there's also part of this is that we want to build competition and we hope that people go for the higher paying plan.
Yeah.
One of the questions, I may as well ask it now actually because it's relevant right to this. So they've put, is it worth having a paid plan if you're not in the top 20%? And if you're not, if you're not on a paid plan, how do you get more auditions to improve your percentage?
Yeah, so if you're on a lower ranking score, you can change it by paying more. Right. If you are on a higher percentage score, you can pay less. Right. So that's how it's more like a balancing act there.
So a higher plan can have a direct effect to the percentage score that you've got.
No, your percentage stays the same, but let's say you were a free member and then you go to the 495 plan, right? Then we do have a corrective element there that you overtake the other people who are top 20 in standard.
So it's when you see the auditions. Okay.
How the auditions work, to go back to the algorithm, is let's say a client posts a project that they ask for 25 auditions and they want it within 12 hours. Those two factors define how many people we invite in the first batch. For this, I'd say in the first batch we invite maybe 100 people, right? So that includes, in this case, everybody from the 888 plan, and maybe if everybody had the same score, like there's some mix up there, right? If you can overtake there, but let's assume that's the case. And then if after the first hour nobody has submitted an invitation, our algorithm thinks this is not going well. Nobody's applying for this. We need to invite more people. So we get a second batch. We invite another 100. If they don't reply, another 100, another 100, another 100, and that's until everybody has been invited. Right? That's sort of how it works. So we show it in batches to our users depending on who is applying to these jobs.
And that'll also have that will be also a balance of the percentage score they are in terms of their credibility on the platform and also their membership plan. So it's a tiered structure.
And also, like, if the deadline is 7 days, the algorithm waits a day and a half, right? So then it doesn't really matter. Then it's that first group can take their time. What tends to happen is we have people, we have clients from all over the world. So let's say they submit a project for a UK voice, but they submit it California time, right? Nobody's awake, right? So nobody replies, and therefore by the time everybody wakes up in Britain, everybody's been invited. Mm-hmm. If it's a fast turnaround deadline. So there's so many different elements at play that when people ask me how does the algorithm work consistently, it keeps depending on these unique factors, but the essence is the same. We invite a couple of people. If nobody responds, next batch.
It's a lot of moving parts, isn't there? There's a lot of variables to it, because I said, with all the different metrics that the platform.
Well, that's why you should view Wisdom 3 as an agent on steroids, right? Because that's what an agent does. They get a project, they know their roster, and they think, who's this suitable for? I'll send it to them.
Yeah, I suppose it's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly right. When you think of it that way.
That's essentially what we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Just one other thing as well before I forget. Going back to when you said about the search function. Well, actually, two things. Going back to the search function. So you said, aside from the first page being largely on a I want to say higher tier basis, how much of the search function do they have to use before it becomes a free-for-all? Because, for example, the reason why I'm saying it is because I'm on one of the lower plans, so I'm nowhere near page one. But if I just put the first filter as British, I'm still nowhere near page one. So has it got to be a few?
No. If only if they start typing.
Oh, so outside of the drop-down menu, it's something personal to them.
Yeah, so if they search for
Oh, I
Nike,
see.
if they search for conversational, if they search for something, then it only gets matched with samples who have that.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so
Or something that sounds close to it. A lot of people make typing errors.
So the filters, the filters that are there as part of the search feature, they will always go based on the order that they're in. But then as soon as somebody goes more in depth, that's when it becomes more of a free for all.
Yeah, but I can't stress enough. Most people don't even have their profile completed to such an extent that they are matched with the filters.
Right.
Okay, and you've got a whole page, haven't you, on your site about things to do to optimize your profile?
Yeah. And we have I'm proud to say that we hired more people, mostly in the customer success department, because of this, so we can help people set up their profile. So there's always staff available if you have questions.
To be honest, I have utilized it a couple of times, and they've always been lovely.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like SEO with your own website, isn't it? Unless you put the right keywords in, no one's going to find it.
Our system is Google.
Yeah, there you go. See, I never even thought of it from that perspective, but it's just like light bulb's just gone off.
Yeah, so that's how you view it. But so what Google does, for example, is if you put on your website all the keywords, they punish you because it no longer becomes relevant. And we do the same. We have a lot of voice actors who put all the possible keywords on their samples or on their profile. And then the client thinks, I don't know what this is. This is everything, and therefore it's nothing, right? So we want to be very precise. So we want you to also be very precise in your samples, and also very precise in what you offer and who you are. And I think what people are maybe missing is what the client does is they either listen to your first audio on the casting part of Voice on 3, or they listen to your first audio on the search, which is often a sample or a custom edition. Yeah. By the time they get to your profile, they just want to get to know you.
Okay.
Right? So that what you're writing there on that first part of your profile should be about you, because the number one fear for clients, besides whether your audio quality is good enough, which is truly the number one fear, great demo, but they can't reproduce it. Yeah. Right? Or they're in a local booth that has a train coming. Like there's so many issues that
so true that a lot of people don't talk about that. But you do like this. If your home setup isn't quite there yet, and you spend £400-500 on a studio demo, when you're then asked to do a job you've been booked for based off your demo, and what you record is nowhere near the same quality.
Yeah, you're wasting a lot of money by buying on sites like us, and even on educational material. Before you do anything as a voice actor, make sure that where you record is the optimal space. It's not your mic, it's the surrounding that's important, and the booth itself. But let's say you're past that, and if I would put on my profile, I would say like a professional home studio. Takes away half of the fear for any kind of client. I would even put that on my personal website if I was a voice actor, because I know that's the dread of clients.
Yeah.
And the second part is clients are in it with the same goal as all of you. Like, I want to ideally work with a voice actor. I don't want to go through this arduous process of casting and matching. Nobody likes this process. I want to get to a place where I then can work with that person for a longer period of time. Which means that as a voice actor, a big part of your career is also about having a level of consistency, having a level of predictability, and a level of service, maybe kindness in how you communicate with the client, a little bit of upfrontness. And we see that people who have a system for communicating are the ones that are performing best on Voice on 3. A lot of our best performing actors tend to be actors that have either a partner or an intern working with them to manage all the communication, so they are consistent and available. Not meaning always online. Consistent could also be, I'm only available between these hours, but then at least it's predictable, right? I can work around that. We learn more and more that's the most important thing for clients. And then like point number 4 or 5 is where they ask, it's also they need to act. Yeah. Right, that becomes the 5th or it's like on the bottom of the pyramid for them, because as soon as you put the word voice actor on a business card, we tend to believe you.
Yeah.
Right? I have the same if I see a designer. I think, okay, they know how to do design apparently.
Yeah,
that says it on the title.
Yeah.
Right?
So when we have the little the message to clients, we submit an audition and we write the little message. How important is that message then?
Yeah, that's very important. It's for the clients, because of course. It's never the initial thing, right? So how a client goes through their auditions tend to be the same way, is they let's say they've received 20 auditions. They go through the first 20, and they only listen to the first 5 seconds to do the initial screening. Yes, no, yes, no. Oh, this is telephone. This is a person talking about themselves before they start the recording. Like all the basics, and they do the initial cut. Then they look at, okay, these are the ones I like the most. They look at your message. A lot of voice actors negotiate in that message, even if it's a fixed price and that tends to work.
It tends to work as in they will consider the change of price.
Yeah. If like we only recently, I think 6 months ago, we had clients asking us, can you please do the casting on our behalf? Mm-hmm. And what we tend to tell them is then, okay, we have all the voice actors on Voice on 3 have studio quality, but let's say we have the best quality, we have professional quality, and we have people who are just getting started.
Yeah.
They always choose the most expensive one.
Yeah.
And we see it in the same for the first 5 years that I was as part of Voice on 3, I always got the same question. Isn't us submitting the budget, or when they ask us for a quote, isn't that a race to the bottom? Doesn't always the lowest price win? That's almost never the case.
That's really interesting. I'm glad you said that. Because you're right.
It's the same as if... Sorry, Mikey.
No, I was just going to say, it is one of those terms that comes up, that the lowest price wins the race. Because people just want to book the work. But
it's like in every part of life. If I'm remodeling a part of my house, I'm also looking at the price that the individual contractor sends me. Right? I'm looking for more than just the price, right?
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
A level of trust. It's with everything. Yeah.
But I just think about it as going to like the supermarket, and it's very, very rare, unless we absolutely have to, that we're going to buy like the most basic brand with the no labels and nothing ever, because you think, or maybe I'll just buy the one above that, or you buy as expensive as you can afford, I suppose, often, don't we, as humans? Because you think, wrongly or rightly, you think there's quality in that. Yeah,
so what you then can see in the projects on Voice on 3 is we have, let's reduce it to 3. We have a big group of clients on Voice on 3 who actually work for somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? So they have to show whatever they find on Voice on 3 to their own clients.
Yeah, they're the middle person.
Yeah. How they make money is margin. So for them, price is more important.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I can get it for $200 or $300, that's $100 for them. So if you can see, okay, this is this type of client.
Yeah.
It might be more risky to overbid than when it's it's the end client directly. They tend to go for the highest one if it's the marketing department of a company.
Yeah.
Then we can see, okay, normally the highest price wins, or if it's a mom and pop shop, also the highest price tends to win.
I love that phrase.
Yeah.
Mom and pop shop is really nice. If it's like a fixed price, then is there still any point negotiating? Because quite often it's okay.
So what I know voice actors do is like not for everything. Because it's also annoying if the client. So if I post a project for, let's say, $500 as a client, and then I get these amazing auditions, and they all say $2,000.
Yeah,
they're going to be annoyed, right? They're not going to use Voice on 3 again. But we see it happen where we say, okay, I really like this project. Where voice actor puts it, but actually my minimum rate for my medium studio fee is this. Mm-hmm. And what it's almost like what tends to happen is that these voice actors get saved for another project.
Okay, so that's what they'd put that message in the message. They'd say, look, I really like this project, but this is my... Okay, that's really good to know.
You've got your favourites column as well, haven't you? Next to your likes, you've got the column where it tells you which clients have favourited. So you can see as that starts to build up, it's a positive metric. You know what I mean? It doesn't lead to any booking there and then, but at least it's something in the right direction.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah. God, there was something I was about to ask and I've completely forgot what it was. That's so frustrating. Oh my word, that's going to absolutely wind me up.
It'll come back to you.
Well, there was one, but I think it's actually there now. Editing auditions once you've sent it. Can you do that yet? I can't remember.
No, and it has been a continuous fight of my entire team asking me to change that, and I'm the only one saying no.
Okay.
How come? To prevent, because we have to do a complex change in the first in the first instance. Yeah. One is that we have to make a rule: you can only edit it if the client hasn't seen it yet.
Right. Which is fair, yeah.
No? Otherwise, how can we let the client know and they have to go back through it? That's
it kind of defeats the point, doesn't it, for them?
It would have to change our algorithm significantly. And I also just, to be honest, I want people to submit it in the right way straight away.
Yeah, get it right. We'll try and get it right first time.
I know that's almost pedantic here. What I'm saying, I know I'm not a voice actor myself, and I know that you do more. If you do a lot of edition at the same time, that's annoying message back. But we keep preaching that voice actors need to be very mindful of what they audition for.
Yeah.
And they need to be mindful of what they're saying to the client. We want to make sure that the client gets the best possible experience. You could also make that an argument. Then you should allow us to edit because then we can make it perfect.
I kind of agree with you because I do feel like it's tough shit, isn't it?
I have got one caveat to that though. I have got one thing I will say. Because at the moment you can only upload one file. So normally I like certain jobs, if it's a quick commercial, I'll do 2 takes, sometimes even 3. But they're all on one file, so I have to put in the notes I've done you 2-3 takes. Some people just don't like having to search. Is there not a way to have like 2 or 3 uploads so they can just go 1, 2, 3?
But then again, people upload everything all the time. And clients don't want that, and our system doesn't want that. So what the way to do this would be to ask the client, would you like to receive multiple?
I'm sure I've sent more than one thing before.
No. Well, you can send your custom audition, and then you can add demo reels from your profile, but you can't unless you cheat the system and upload an audition to the demo reel. You can get around it that way.
There you go, working around the situation.
Good idea.
But otherwise, in terms of actual uploading audition, it's just one singular file, which I like. But it's only just like it's not a deal breaker by any stretch. It's been the way.
Yeah, it must be minimal the times.
But I just think there are some people who want multiple options, and just think I just look from an aspect of make it as easy as possible for the customer. Don't have to ask them to like at 33 seconds the next version kicks in. So it was just a thought that came to mind.
No, 100%. So for example, the other debate that we constantly have in our company is like, because we get a lot of questions from voice actors, like we need more information when we're auditioning, right? Because clients don't often give all the usage terms, or they give very minimal input on the project form. I don't know what I'm auditioning for, that stuff. As soon as we add one question to our project form, like 5% of the clients drop off.
Really? As quick as that?
Because it is a hassle, apparently.
Just you add an extra step, aren't you? Simplicity is the key, isn't it?
We now added a drop field where you can select the purpose of recording, what's it for. It has decreased the number of clients posting projects. It's not even obligatory, it's optional. So we like in the dream world of a first time client, it's just a one form, and it's essentially I want this language, and mostly they don't even know that. I just want a voice actor. Recommend me something.
Right.
And we try to push them, write as much as you have about your project or what you have in your mind. Write it as much as you can in an open field.
It really varies, doesn't it?
Because if we don't ask any drop down questions, clients write more. So we tend to get a little bit more information that way, but then there are projects that go through that have zero information whatsoever. Yeah. And then it becomes a pain, because then voice actors let us know, we let the client know, and they'll have to submit again. But it's like we're constantly balancing the act of we need to ask as much as we can, but not too much, because we scare them away. It's like I don't know about you, but if a page doesn't load on any kind of browser for more than 2 seconds, I'm off.
Recently, over the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, I've been doing a lot of research on website psychology, and it's quite in depth. It goes from like colours to button placement.
Yeah,
but ultimately
everybody's blue.
But ultimately it's the user experience, and it's just at the moment there seems to be a big thing for absolute simplicity. Really minimalistic, that's the word I was looking for. Real minimalistic styles, and they work well. It's a case of it has to load almost instantaneously, and as soon as I'm there, I want to know in an instant who you are, what you do, and well, not so much how much it costs, but at least in our perspective, what you sound like. Demos there immediately. The less, and like as soon as somebody, and I've seen it on mine, I've made some changes, which in hindsight I think it was kind of silly, but like when I had on my site, when you come on it, there was a big yellow button that said "Hear my work now," because I had like some little trust signals, and they replaced where my demos were being. Press the button, you only go down about 3 inches, and then the demos are there. That alone had a massive bounce rate. So I got rid of all of it. I've put my demos there, and now the average time on my site is like 4 or 5 minutes. And I couldn't believe, and it seems like people listen. Well, obviously, you put your demos there straight away, and I get that. But there was a giant yellow button that said you can listen to my work, and it was right below them. But just putting that extra step in had a massive negative impact.
Yeah, and it is so almost disheartening. Also, our product designers have the same feeling. Like they want to build an amazing homepage, but we know what works best is a giant white page with one button on it.
It's so true.
It is sad.
Really is.
But if you're thinking about your own website as well, I would think about these things. Like a client comes to your website, what they want to know first is what do you sound like. And if your first couple of sections are all about your headshots and a lot of information about who you are, you can check tools like Clarity, like a free tool. You can see that just scrolling down straight away. What does the person sound like?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So we couldn't load the audio in time. So Michael and I are doing this just after we let Rolf go. And I'm very excited that, oh God.
Come on, Jen. We have a process now.
I'm so sorry. I completely forgot what I'm doing. Go on then. Hold on a second. What time is it, Michael? It's time for voiceover of the week. Absolutely butchered that. But who didn't butcher it was the amazing voiceover that we've chosen this week. And this week's voiceover of the week is Susie Coleman.
Well done, Susie.
It's so cool. She's just released a trailer that she's voiced for Mortal Kombat 2. Is that right?
Mortal Shell 2.
Sorry, Mortal Shelter. And it's
Mortal Shell 2. Sorry. Is this your voice over the week or mine?
And that's why they pay me the big bucks. Yeah. Should we just play it? Should we play it?
This is well. I'll just rescue Jen. So this is a clip that Jen shared with me from Mortal Shell 2.
Thank
now
you.
I only know this because I saw a clip of this on the socials yesterday. Oh, here we go. Starting.
They know naught of your nature. You're a weapon, child. You're no god, but neither are they.
It's so cool. And what I really love is because that is a big trailer. There's a lot going on there, and Susie's voice just fits in so well with it. Like it's just really, really well performed, and
it meets that. So for those of you who watch it, whether you watch this or you see online, Mortal Shell 2, it looks like kind of like a medieval sort of hack and slash sort of game. I saw a trailer of it online a couple of days ago. That's the only reason why I remembered, and obviously I had no idea it was Susie doing the voice for it, but I love it. I think it's brilliant, and like you said, Jen,
well done,
it just
Susie.
gets that real.
Oh, it's
menacing,
exciting, isn't it?
It's gets that menacing tone right. So yeah, Susie, excellent work. Well done. You're our voiceover of the week. And back on with the show. There was one other thing actually that's come back to me. We kind of misconceptions, shall we say, that you feel that people may have about using a platform like Voice 123, getting the best out of it, how it works. Are there any sort of typical? And to be fair, we've spoken a lot. We've probably already covered it. But is there anything? Because I've got one thing. But is there anything that you can think of that you think people may think a certain way that you actually go, no, actually that isn't true? People say it all the time.
Well, yeah, there's I would say there's two things. One is the one that Jen was referring to as well. Like I think there's a preconception that maybe Voice on 3 is a company with 1,000 people, or with a giant corporate structure. We're 25 people. It's a very small company, and we are located all around the world. So we've always been this way. We by design we don't want to be bigger, right? Which one of the reasons we don't want to close up the system, because that means we have to have a lot of staff managing all these payments. We want to stay out of the way because we know that's the basic of what Voice on 3 is and what it should be, and we only feel that that's how we can be in voiceover sustainably. So we are a small company, we're a small company in people. What's interesting to know about Voice on 3 maybe is that there's, depending how you look at it, there's about $60 million a year flowing through Voice on 3. Not through our accounts, but of voiceover being.
I thought you were on
booked.
a boat.
That yacht behind you, really.
Yeah. I buy these board games myself. Yeah.
I want to find out more about the board games, but maybe another time.
No, it was actually how I got the job through that board game. But so there's
Okay,
about.
we're definitely going to have to circle back to that, Rolf. What?
Put a pin in that one. We'll come back to
Yeah.
it.
So and the voiceover is like a $4 billion industry. And Voices is roughly the same size, and then you have all these other platforms that tend to be smaller, but there you have to be vetted by a lot of. There you get vetted by the companies themselves, and they're more niche. So let's say we're one of the two places where bulk VO happens on casting. But I would just like to put out there, we're not as big as everybody thinks.
Yeah,
The
it's
other
way smaller than I thought, and I really like that. I don't know why, but for me, it feels nicer, and I feel like I'm going to be listened to more. Like if I do contact the customer support or whatever, then I like to imagine those people then, actually responding to it rather than just like a.
Is customer support. The other
Yeah.
30 is engineers and product designers, and a couple of people like me. And then the other part is that the thing we dislike the most is being called pay to place, right? We made one of the reasons we said it is because in 90% of the cases, people don't have to pay to be on Voice on the 3. Like to be part of the search feature, for example, is one way. All you have to do is have a profile, and we want that. We want because we want to cater to every single language in the world. So we want people to just go on there. And being an elite member in some countries means the 49 plan, and other countries means the 2200 plan, right?
Yeah, I guess as well, if you are saying that you are here to serve your clients as well, the more voice actors that they have that are there available to them, the better it is going to be for them, isn't it?
That's the main. So we want to cater to that need.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can if we have, and sounds a horrible term, but if we have coverage in every market, right? A very MBA kind of approach to explain this. But if we have enough voice actors, and I think we need about between 10 and 20 at least of people who are active in every voiceover market. And by market, I mean the combination of language, gender, age, purpose. So we need 20 people who do audiobooks, 20 people who do, and then so that's a lot of people. That's why we do have 1 million people on Voice on the 3. It's a big number.
Massive. Yeah. I don't know how the staff actually manage that, but I suppose as you say, you try and be quite hands off, don't you?
Yeah. We don't, because we don't vet every piece of talent.
Yeah.
Every talent, sorry. We only vet the people who apply to what is the platinum membership, the most expensive tier, and we only keep that at 40 each. So no, we do, and the rest is that's the reason we build an algorithm, right? Because the alternative would be just to have a giant staff of people doing the exact same thing. Yeah.
So you said that 90% of the work is for US voices. So as a British voice or somebody who falls outside of that, is there any point trying to go for these really high tier platinum or, the tiers that are higher priced?
Yeah, because it does mean there is, I think I should have prepared this. I think there is about 3 to 5 million amount of work in voice that we can see, right? That's not where you get contacted directly, but we know there is a lot of UK. It's our second biggest market.
Okay, so there is worth if people can afford it.
90% of the people book US voices. Doesn't mean that they're all in the US, of course. They're from every different place, but I would say so. But just if I was a UK voice actor, I would not buy the 2200 plan.
Okay.
I would buy at best the 888 plan, and only to buy the 888 plan if you are making Voice 1 to 3 the casting side you're going to spend the most time on.
Because so basically my history with it is in I think it was either back end of 2020 or 2021, I made the leap and I went to the 2-2 plan, and it worked. I dare I say I more or less built my voiceover business off the back of that because of all the clients I got directly. And then what I did was after the first year, because I did it on a quarterly basis, because obviously you're not tied in then, are you? If you do it quarterly, if you decide you want to cancel, you can do. Whereas if you pay the full 2-2, you're in for the whole year. But because it was a big commitment for me at the time, and I was relatively sort of, I wouldn't say I was new, but I was newer in that respect. So I wanted to make sure it was going to work, but it did. It worked really well, and I stayed with it. But then I dropped it down to a 395, and then I nearly came off the platform because the auditions dropped significantly. So I think last year, just to keep myself active on a plan, I just went on the $49 plan, and I've sort of considered quite a lot about going back up to the higher tiers again. But I noticed that dropping from 2.2 to 3.95, I know it's gone up a bit now, but to 3.95 didn't make that much of a difference to the auditions I was getting. But I think that's just because I had maintained my account a certain way, that I was in the top 10%, my like ratio was high, so even dropping down, I was still getting a good.
Because I gave the example of if you are, let's say if you're now in the 2200 plan, there's 80 other people doing this, right? Yeah. In that first batch that we send out, tends to be about, if they only invite 5 people, there's we're going to only invite 50 actors, so you have an edge.
Yeah.
Right. But if they request 25 auditions, we invite 100 or 100 plus, depending on what they're asking for, right? Then suddenly, the edge of the 2200 plan is not that much anymore. So what you are buying is that, and you only need one, as you both know, you only need one project to pay for your entire membership, right?
Yeah.
If that becomes a repeat client. So again, if you're really into making Voice on 3 work, and this is like you did for 3 months, I'm going all in on this, it works.
Yeah.
But if it's one of the things that you do, and you're also on the other sides, I would not spend so much on Voice on 3.
Really?
I think my question was if we did pay the 2,200 plan, for example, though, and because there's so many fewer people looking for British voices, we might only got, I don't know, 4 auditions a week, say. Whereas if you had a US accent, you might get 40, for example. So I suppose it's thinking about the ratio of opportunity there as well.
But there's also a lot more competition.
But, yeah, and I think specifically the highest plan, they pay off the most on the search side.
Well,
to be honest, I think audition will go away in the next 5 years regardless.
Well,
I think that part of voiceover is slowly dying.
Really?
Okay.
We'll touch on that in a sec because that's fascinating. So, yeah, you mentioned there about the search thing because that's something that somebody's told me. I know somebody who's on the premium plan who said, to be fair, I had this conversation about 5 or 6 months ago, so the maths have might change. But they said nearly all of their work comes from people messaging directly from the search. Yeah. They don't really get many auditions. And I toyed. My experience has never been that. My experience was quite the opposite. Never get anything through search. So I thought, well, if I did try and look at going on the higher one, if there's that much extra work I'm missing out on through not being on the first page of results, it's worth exploring.
Yeah, I've seen an increase.
It used to be 80% of everything was an audition. Clients went the traditional route. This is how you do voiceover. You post a project, you get a lot of auditions. But in especially in high performative stuff, by high performative is like a character work. Like it becomes important. Or if you have a really specific voice in mind, right? And or maybe even no, that's not true. If you have the opposite, if you have no idea and you just want to have a sample of people doing the same work in different ways, then an audition might be the best way to do it. But if you have something specific in mind, or if you don't want to bother people, which is a big complaint from our clients, like I feel guilty posting a project and I don't, but I also don't want to send them all an individual message saying thank you. Like I don't want to do the work, but I want to make people feel appreciated. Is there another way? And we tend to move them towards the search, and they browse through the profiles, contact people directly.
That's so sweet.
It tends to be the case. And so I think also that's where AI will come up a little bit. Is that AI might take away a little bit of the audition factor for more standard work, where instead of waiting for a bunch of auditions, I'm going to listen to your voice and your AI voice, and then book you directly. That's the most common. That's the only way AI is being used on Voice on 3 right now.
Well, that's the next mountain we're about to try and climb. So I want to get into that. Just before I do, one thing I was going to say about the sort of misconceptions or misunderstandings was if you get an audition through and it has 50 audition spots and you get the email through when there's 49 or even 55, I think generally speaking people think, oh, it's not worth it, they're never going to listen to it. And I've recently learned that it's still worth auditioning anyway, because the customers, this is from you on another podcast, you said that the customers can choose to filter newest first. So even if you come in at number 55 out of 50, they can still choose to listen to what the most recent ones are so they can get a fresh batch. It's not a case of, everyone just comes in the order of the audition.
Yeah, and I would say the indicator to think about that is if a client has a deadline of about 12 hours or like it's very fast turnaround, what they tend to do is they post a job and first of all, I'm mostly amazed that within 5 minutes the first audition comes in, right? So they listen as they come in. So then halfway through they start to change the sorting element, because otherwise I have to keep going to the second page. So I put it most recent first. If it is a longer deadline, I post the audition, I wait a day, I go through them all, and then it's whoever submitted first is up, right? So it really depends on what type of client you're talking through. But yeah, clients can set the sorting elements in the way that they want to.
Interesting. I mean, I tend to do it anyway because I think you never know. And there's a few times I've been booked from a job.
I would think a more important. So the algorithm of the auditions only takes into account if your sample is being listened to.
Oh, okay.
So if it's not being listened to, it doesn't count towards anything.
Right. Okay.
right? So I would look you, and we provide that information about the client, how much the client is listening to, like
Yeah.
if they review 80% or 60%
Yeah.
or 100%. If they do 100%, I would still audition.
Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've had my reservations in the past, and there has been a couple
I've
of times.
definitely been put off.
Yeah, I've definitely, and I thought, it's just not worth it. They've got so many already, and what's the point? And there are many times where I've done that. There are also times I thought, no, just do it anyway. It's a quick audition, and I've booked it. So, but then obviously
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know. I thought that was just pure luck. You know what I mean?
Well, and to a certain extent it is, because there's a lot of pressure on you making that decision, right?
Yeah.
Because we also tell you don't audition for everything. So
Right,
it is tough. Yeah, we
Yeah.
put all the weight on you in this case.
Well, that's what you just made a good point there, because that's one of the things I always say when I talk about how I used it, used the platform. It was just being really strict on only audition for the stuff that you feel you can give your best rendition on.
Yeah.
Because not only is that going to boost your chances of obviously getting booked, but it means that you're probably going to get a like if you're a close match to what they're looking for, and that will obviously help your standings. And over time, that just helped me get into the top 10% thing, and it worked well for me.
But you also have to take in mind that when we say those things, we're talking to the user that auditions for everything, and by everything I mean they will. It's like me auditioning for a female role,
I mean,
or me auditioning for a UK British. Well, everybody can hear that I'm not from the UK, right? So we have a lot of people just applying to everything, where there's a category called English Other, and they feel like everything goes here. A lot of clients don't even know how to work the language filter, so they try to put it in the description. That's why you sometimes get invited for projects that don't even match your language. So we also have to tell them. And ethnicity is another one. Like we don't want to collect information about ethnicity, because it has, all studies show it has a negative effect on algorithms, and we have an algorithm, so we shouldn't collect it, but we should make you the decider in that case. And you can say, I no longer want to be invited for these keywords, so you have to.
Yeah, I think I need to do that for some of them as well, like TTS and stuff as well.
Yeah. So but we see people
Just
applying cross ethnicity, everything. So we're also talking to the
I don't
major
get it
group
at all.
there. Yeah.
I mean,
it makes me really angry.
No, but I think I can't imagine any experienced voiceover doing that for the obvious reasons. I think that can only, from my perspective, that would be someone who's not got much experience, and it's a spray and pray approach.
And what happens if you get the job?
Well, yeah. I mean,
There's going to be
that's
that
a
moment
curveball.
where you are not the person they were asking for.
Yeah, which does happen sometimes. I mean,
does.
yeah, you're right. But I would guesstimate they're more rare than they are frequent. You know what I mean? Like, it's a freak chance that you happen to have just been the perfect voice at the perfect time. It's a bit like when you send an email out to marketing, and then they happen. Oh, we're just looking for someone like you. It's like, today was
Those
my
are the
time.
best emails to get.
They don't come around often, but today was my time. So, okay, we've covered tremendously great information there, stuff that certainly for myself eye-opening as well. But I think, yeah, let's tackle the big one.
Yeah, this is going to be like a 5-hour podcast. Is that okay, Rolf?
All the time in all.
The big one. My
I don't
two
believe
favourite
that at
letters,
all.
AI. Well, okay, well, so first of all, I have to admit, when was it now? It must have been around about Christmas. Yeah, it was. I think it was about Christmas time. I went on Voice 123. Because I went on the $50 plan, I wasn't getting much auditions through, which was fine. I was sort of finding my place with it again. And there it was, AI Voices, 11 Labs. And my heart sank to begin with. Because I thought, oh God, because if now the platforms are starting to integrate it, is this the start of the end? And then I started listening, because you have that thing, don't you, where you can insert a bit of text and it'll translate that into a voice and you listen to it. And obviously you can hear it being the AI generated version. Now, I have intentionally not done any research on this topic because I want to talk to you about it directly and find out firsthand. So I feel relatively unarmed, but I suppose that in a way it's a good thing because I'm trying to get educated. So
Perfect.
Can you just talk to us about how that came about and what the thought process was to bring 11 Labs into the platform, please?
Well, let's talk about that misconception then. We have not partnered with 11 Labs.
Oh, right, okay, there you go.
So to go back to my very first One Voice conference, I think in 2018, I got booed off stage. I had to come back the next day because I mentioned the word AI.
Right.
And because when I got hired as the CEO of Voice on 3 in 2016, I was given a mission thinking, okay, AI is coming. There's multiple paths to how AI is going to change the voiceover industry. One might be, and the worst possible outcome is like a Shutterstock of voiceover, right? Where you have, or Getty Images of voiceover, where it's all AI models. we soon realized, okay, that's not going to be the case. There's going to be some types of voiceover work that might be replaced. There's going to be new types of voiceover work that's going to be created. But we started to look at the technology differently. Before I dive into AI voices, the one thing that I would what we have learned about AI is that clients are using it mostly for informational stuff.
So like IVR messages maybe, or e-learning, something like that.
The informational part of e-learning, but not the performative part of e-learning.
Okay.
The informational part of IVR, but even there's a performance in there, so it's often a mix. It's for post-production, it's for speed. Like it replaces some types of voiceover. So what we started thinking, okay, we even tried to make our first AI model in 2017. It's no chance, very hard, right? And then we saw the rise of all these different AI companies like 11 Labs. I think we had a report in 2020 where there were about 50 or 60, and 2 years later there were about 2,000. It went really, really fast. Technology is moving really, really fast. So we thought, okay, well, let's just wait. The technology will catch up, and most likely there will not be a single winner, because what we saw straight away is that there were companies going after only video games, only character voices, there's a company like Synthesia, I think it's from the UK. They do corporate videos, right? People similar to as voice actors, these companies specialize in different clients they're serving. So we started to change our vision on AI, thinking, okay, we should do what we do best, and we should match. And we realized the only future for Voice on the 3 is if voice actors keep getting booked and keep getting hired and keep getting work. If voice actors don't get work, Voice on 3 doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So how can we amplify that? So the whole plan was, let's put the power in the hand of the voice actors. So we asked, before December, we asked all our voice actors in our platform, would you be interested in, first of all, do you have an AI voice model already? And if yes, which company? Would you like to showcase your AI model on Voice on 3 so clients can book you? Because we wanted to get to the 80-20 or 80-20 principle. We saw that clients want to use either 80% AI and then 20% the real person, or 20% AI and then 80% the real person. Like, let's say it's the e-learning thing. There's two courses in that e-learning curriculum that I really want to have a performative side of it. I want to get the actors in, and I want to want to do the actual live session there. But for all the other stuff, I want to use the AI. Or I want to do commercial. I want to do the main work with the voice actor, but I want to change all the names of all the places with AI.
Yeah.
Right? So we thought, okay, this is going to be the future. The future is not AI. The future is voice actors having an AI model, in the same way that you would have to have Source Connect to call into a studio. With that idea, we asked all the voice actors, who is the one that you want to work with? And 2 came out, Respeecher and 11 Labs. So we said, if you have one of these models, show them to us, not give them to us, but share your link. We'll ask the companies if we can post them on their website. They said yes. So now it's part of the search. Since then, there's also a Voice on the 3 model. It's built on the same models that all the other ones are built on. I think it's not as good as 11 Labs, but it took us 2 months to build, even though in 2016 we weren't able to do it. And it's just with public information. And the idea of that is, we build it, you own it. So the Voice on 3 model is, we ask you to upload 5 samples, you create a model, and it's yours, and you can use it on your own site as well. And if you no longer want to use it, we delete it, but we don't use it for anything else. And we have put, since then, all these kind of tracking on Voice on 3 as well. If we have time, I would love to talk a little bit about like the voice ID stuff and the voice cloud, but let's stick with this for now. What you saw was AI voices, because what we put it on the search side of Voice on 3, so that you can select, everybody can go there, you can just go to the Voice on 3 search, and you can select AI, and then you see the same thing as the search, but then you type in a script. And then people who have their own model and their own agreement with 11 Labs, so we don't have any agreement with 11 Labs, we also don't earn anything on that behalf. Let's say it generates the voiceover, so let's say I put in 80 words, generates the voiceover, clients can listen to it, and if they want to download it, they would have to ask you for permission, and you would have to say yes, and you can get paid. That doesn't happen. We've had 3 payments. like 3 people buying the AI. What is happening in 80% of the cases? They use it as a pre-audition. I like your voice. Can I work with you directly?
In what time frame is that? Sorry, remind me of how long you said that was in the 3 that have been paid?
Since December.
Since December.
Really?
So in 6 months,
Yeah.
3 times people have
So there
bought
you
the
go. So they
AI.
just-
What they've been using it for is, well, what we realize is half of the people are the voice actors using it themselves, making funny voices of themselves and sending it to family members. That's one thing, right? People love to play around with this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But since we're finding a way to filter that out in the information, then we see, okay, what it tends to be used at is as clients actually clients liking to hear their script straight away,
Yeah.
and then working
Yeah.
with the actor directly. So,
I think
like if I could speed the development up of Voice on the 3, I would love to get to a place where almost you are selling a membership to a client. Where, let's say, a client finds you on a place like Voice on 3, but might also be your own website. And a company like Voice on 3 provides the technology where, let's say I book you and you give them access to your AI voice. But without having to approve every single project, you would just give them access for these terms. Like for the next 3 months, you have unlimited access to my AI voice. We'll just track how many minutes you use. And then a thing like Voice on 3 Cloud that we have, you can see everything they're generating with it. So you have you could see the actual text and you can see what they're using it for and when they're downloading it, etc.
That terrifies me though, Rolf, that I have to say. Them being able to use it for anything.
But it only works with the clients you trust. So you are in control. So let's say you have a client that's recurring and normally you do pickups and you both want to experiment with the pickups being done by
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
You can see what they're doing it for.
Yeah.
And if you don't want that, you would just reduce, you're in control of it.
Okay.
That would be the
Yeah.
approach. I would also be terrified at the beginning, like,
Yeah.
what are they no longer going to use me?
Yeah.
But again, you can see everything that they're doing.
But you might find though, I think
And you can say, okay, I'm going to charge you an extra X amount of dollars per month for that you use it.
because you might find that there are some circumstances, like we were talking recently about, there's a clothing company called Matalan, and what they've done is they've made a shift now to go to AI for their commercials, but it's not your typical radio commercials and big brand promos. They're largely, this weekend we've got 50% off and this, or this weekend Easter bank holiday. So just for simplicity and speed, they've just used AI because they can quickly change what the promo offer is. The bulk of the advert is the same, but then they've got the AI bit to change the promo, or sometimes they'll just use all AI. So I suppose really, like you said there, I think there's definitely, looking forward, it can definitely be.
And what the other companies, what the AI companies are struggling with is that they, like, I also want to be able to book the voice actor.
Yeah, because I think there will be a scenario where, let's say, we've got you for this job, but we've just changed the date of the promo. So can we use your AI version just to insert that new date? And they'll feel.
And if you would have to constantly approve it, there's no sense, because to be honest, you will record that in under a minute.
Yeah, true.
Right? So because clients are already, so we often get the complaint, are you using AI actors? This goes way too fast. No, people are fast. Like, it does, for a professional actor, it doesn't take that long to record 15 seconds, right? It takes 30 seconds, so to speak. Like, it can go fast. So the only way to do that is there's 2 moments in voiceover where people have to wait on each other. One is in the audition process. I have a project idea. I have to listen. I have to make a decision there.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. And the other one is if there is a pickup or a revision or a second moment. That's where you have to, as a client, you have to wait for the voice actor. So I think that's where AI will solve items for the client. And I know for sure voice actors are already using AI to audition on Voice on the 3.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I want to ask you about that. Because, well, first of all, I think a lot of people, for those that obviously we have a lot of people listen to us, so they'll know I keep repeating the same message. I'm realistic. I'm not naive to think how things are going in the future, but I'm also not concerned about AI for very reasons you've mentioned. Like, it's something that probably work in conjunction rather be the old big replacement. And I do think that it's quite telling when you say that in 7 months almost, on a platform as massive as Voice 123, you still only had 3 people actually pay for the service. So it's there and available via professional voice actors, and yet they're still not using it. They're still going to the actor. I think it's quite telling, and I think a lot of people need to sort of be mindful of that I think context is really key when it comes to AI, and exactly like you said, Rolf, it's going to be about your informational style things. That, you know, if it is more of a generic style voiceover that doesn't require much, dare I say, soul to it, then AI might come in.
I think if you would also have to view it from, put yourself into the client's shoes. If I would have to make a decision between hiring a voice actor or hiring a voice actor that also has an AI model that I can access with their consent, right now it doesn't matter to a lot of clients, but in the next couple of years that will make a difference. In the same way that the home studio made such a difference.
Yeah.
Does this voice
really
actor have a home studio or not? So, and the consent part is really important because it's the number one. I have the same fear of watching a video now. Is it AI? I have the same fear of all the text I read or a person calling me. Is this going to be another AI bot, right? And you can see there's legislation happening about, especially in the EU, about it having to be visible, that it is produced by AI. And I think what is most likely going to happen is there's going to be a need for transparency in there. So people will have to say it is AI. And brands cannot get caught using a stolen voice, right? Yeah. Because we have a thing called ethical consumerism, and the conscious buyer, especially this new generation, is very important. If a big brand like Coca-Cola is using an AI version to do let's say the Latino side of their campaign, they're going to get punished by their.
But the thing is, I mean, that is happening now, though. That's going on at the moment. Like Scott Rail is using an AI voice that was stolen from a voice actor, and there's no kind of legislation that is supporting her.
Not yet.
She's
not yet. I was reading about this yesterday. The whole copyright side of it is.
But these are the extreme cases, though.
Yeah, of course they are.
The number one fear for voice actors is my audition will get stolen. And and it tends to happen only, let's say, in 1% of all the auditions.
I think I'm very naive. But I mean, I think I've said this before, and I don't then want to take advantage of. But I never thought people would do that.
No, most people don't. I think you're not naive. I think you're right.
Okay,
but
good.
There is your website though, and just take voices off there and make an AI print, can't they, without permission?
Yeah.
I mean, but even our own websites. And I was reading yesterday about copyright law, and it is a bit of a wild west that essentially the law says that you don't own your own voice, and that sentence to me sounds absolutely barbaric. But what they mean by it is that it's not. I can't remember the terminology of it. But basically, it's saying that like there's you can't copyright. It's got to be a certain type of audio print of a certain type that's static almost, and that's what you copyright. But if it's just free flowing conversation that changes and whatever, that you don't own. But I wonder when you said about. Like with you'd like use the voice 1, 2, 3 version, for example, you own it. I wonder if that's how you get around the copyright thing by.
I think there's another way around the copyright thing. I've been trying to talk to particularly the U.S. unions about this topic as well, and I would love for. We're trying to put that into our terms of service as well in a way that it is covered. But there's a piece of wonderful legislation in the EU that is GDPR, right? It gives you the right to be forgotten. It gives you a little bit more control over your data. In my opinion. Your digital voice is your data set.
Yeah, 100%.
So if we can structure it that way, then if your data is being used to train a model and you have the right to be forgotten and you have, I think that's the best foundation as creatives to work with. Not to think about IP and intellectual property.
Yeah.
I think what we learn from the music industry and other places, it's going to be difficult to fight that fight because there's going to be so many use cases that go against you. But if you consider your digital voice as your personal data, then suddenly you're standing on something that has a lot of jurisdiction.
That makes sense.
So I'm trying to go into that direction with Voice on the Tree, and hopefully all the other companies and institutions join us in this approach.
Yeah, I won't go into all of it. It says here, do you own your own voice? The short answer is no. There's no voice likeness right in the UK, unlike other countries which protect it, like the publicity rights in the US.
Oh yeah, that's unrelated to AI almost, right?
Yeah, but it goes on to say that voice cloning has to be done with a recording. The most logical place to start will be trying to enforce the copyright on the actual recording used for training the AI to generate a model of your voice.
So that's why we use the terms of NAVA, for example, whenever there's text-to-speech jobs. They can only be used to train models for this and this and this. It can only be used for that. Like we ask all the questions and they have to be clear about it. And I know people are fearful of TTS jobs, but for me, they are just a new type of voiceover that will remain for the next.
I'm definitely fearful of them because I feel like I don't fully understand it or feel like I have control.
Well,
and I think that's where it comes from.
This is where that problem with Guyane come from with the Scott Rail. So basically, I don't know the full ins and outs of it, so I'm borderline just paraphrasing, but essentially, her argument is that she did a TTS job about 5 years ago, and the terms to which she signed on for weren't very clear. That I guess
It was
essentially
reading.
could
Was it
change
reading
over the
to
years.
the blind or something? It was something like really noble in when she first did it.
She believes she was doing TTS for a very specific product, but I guess buried somewhere in those terms and conditions were some kind of stipulation that actually, as time goes on, it can be repurposed. So Scott Rail have come along.
I think this is more discussion about terms, because the same can happen with hidden terms in any type of voiceover. The thing is about TTS is like all these models are now also built on data sets that people who recorded for those never realized the thing as voice AI could exist. So all these companies that have built this technology on data sets will have to do it again in a couple of, hopefully, months, maybe years, because there will be legislation saying, hey, the people didn't sign off on this.
Yeah, and that's what
so
she said.
You have to train it again, but the genie is already out of the bottle in the sense that their technology is out there. So it would just be a matter of retraining, but then with consent, which means that, and we see this already, that text-to-speech jobs will become more lucrative over time for voice actors. Like 5 or 6 years ago, a voice actor would be flown into a studio, get $50,000 to record for 2 weeks every line, and now they only need 20 minutes to train a model, and the price goes down, and the price kept going down in 2023. In the last 9 months, the price of text-to-speech recordings is going up again because AI is not that smart. It has a good memory. Well, what it needs is really good voiceovers to make really good models. So, or train models that could turn into models. So I think there will be a type of voiceover that stays.
So yeah, because you mentioned earlier on that you think in a few years' time the auditioning process will be almost a thing of the past. So in your perspective, you believe that by voiceovers having their own AI component, it allows potential customers to quickly hear what they would sound like on their portion of their script, and that's used as the blueprint as to whether they book the voice. So it's kind of like streamlining the process a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. Like you don't need places like Voice on 3 anymore over time, right? Then you can just go directly on other places. Like that would, I don't want to say that will be ideal with my company, but I think it makes sense over time that the fewer people are involved in the process, the better. Like that's how it started with Voice on 3 as well. We had Tanya was a voice actor and said, I have to go through like 10 people to talk to a client. I don't like that. I want to talk to the client directly. That's the fundamental principle of Voice on 3.
But I suppose for looking ahead, it's like you build a place of trust, don't you? So these voice actors we have vetted them or whatever. People come to us because of this reason or that.
Yeah, and that's why for the last year, all we've been building is there's a thing that Adobe did where you could. It's a content authenticity initiative. Mm-hmm. Very, very hard to say, for me at least. And we made the same for voiceover. So we have a voice authenticity initiative, which basically comes down to us watermarking and tagging every single audio file that gets passed through Voice on 3, and it gets uploaded into a cloud version that you can see. And we already had 2 cases where a voice actor said, I think my audition is being used. They send us a phone recording of the TV and said, this is my voice. And we were able to match it with the original file that was sent in, and we said yes, and they could take that to the client. We're getting better at tracking.
Cheeky fuckers.
It happens, right? Clients end up paying, but you always have. There's always the 1% that tries to screw things over. So we want to make our strategy is pretty obvious. We want to be the place where you can do trustworthy voiceover, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a great initiative. Right. I just want to say, thank you for putting the effort into that, because that is just gives a lot of peace of mind, doesn't it, as well, that anything we're uploading is being.
Well, I think that's part of the problem with
it. It's also something that's personally important to me, but I also don't want to come over. It's not altruism or anything. It's also a business decision, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
That I stand for on a personal level, but it also just makes sense from a business level that AI is scary. If you can remove the scary part of AI, AI works.
Well, that's
the approach.
I think part of, the reason why AI can be deemed quite scary is obviously because as it gets better, people will be concerned that it will replace the need for the actual voice actor. And I think we've talked about it that actually there's, from what you've seen the data yourself, that actually AI has a place for certain things, but the need for a human storyteller will always be there. But I think the other reason why AI is scary is because the whole regulation around it is just completely Wild West like. And I can't help but think that if the whole thing eventually gets to a point where it's like, no, If anybody tries to take your voice, scrape it and turn it into AI, that's an instant no. You can't do that because you don't own it. That's somebody's properties. That's their voice. You get rid of things like that. That's just a bit of a free for all at the moment. And
you can't do that now. There's no way you can do that now.
That's what I'm saying. And that's why I think it's scary, because it feels like you've got no protection against how your voice is used, who can use it, and I feel quite vulnerable. I mean, I don't worry about it, but I do feel vulnerable to it. I feel powerless to the idea that I can't challenge it. But I think when times change, I always say this. I know it's not nice, but I'll say it anyway. I think the only way things are going to change is when big celebrities and IPs start to lose money through AI. That's when the rest of us benefit. Someone's going to have to suffer.
That's the main push that all these voiceover campaign, the voice actor activists are doing with politics as well, I guess. As soon as their misuse of their voice, like
exactly,
they're using your voice in an ad that's not your voice, you'll get legislation straight away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. These people, like some of the politicians, have this real naive aspect to it. Like, well, it's you can't copyright. It's people are being creative. So okay, no problem. So what we'll do is we'll scrape your voice, right? No problem. And now you're advertising something at 1 o'clock in the morning on some other channel. Like now it's a problem, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It frustrates me.
Yeah, but it is like if I would have to explain to my family barbecue and say, okay, they're using AI voice now, I would have to make a real case on why that's a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Because they would think, oh, that's nice. I use ChatGPT also to create my text, so why not my voice? Mm. Right, so people often forget that there's the creator behind it and the work they've done there and what it means to them. So it's important to keep telling that story, and that's why.
Yeah. I am really conscious of the time because we've had Rolf for a long time.
I'll keep going.
I know I can keep going all afternoon.
Well, just before, if you need to wrap up, just a couple of things. We've had some questions in. Some of them we've kind of actually covered. I'll just repeat it anyway, so they know the question's been seen. The first one is, will there be a possibility to add pictures or preferably an intro video to your profile to add it a bit more personable?
I would love that as well. It's been on our backlog for so long. Everybody wants it. It's just a hassle to do it. So we had planned to do it last quarter, and we plan to do it next quarter. But if I put that deadline on my team, they will hate me forever. So we have this as a plan. It's just we have to do it then for 1 million people.
Yeah, of course.
So it is quite impactful for us to make that change.
But it does sound like that's quite imminent, though. Even if it's not next quarter, that's something that is high on your priority list.
Yeah. Unless I have to, talk to you a year from now in shame, saying we still haven't done it.
And we will get you back on and shame you.
I think we've kind of covered this one. I'll just repeat it anyway, so they know it's been said. Does having your audition liked on a regular basis give you an advantage to get auditions earlier, even if you're on a lower plan? So we know that's a yes. So it's maintain your account.
I would love to know as well, before we let you go, what's next? Like, what is what's the thing you're really excited about?
Got one more question. Sorry.
Okay.
I should have prepared this one because it would be nice to have a couple of one-liners here.
Some sound bites.
So, to be honest, I would say 80% of my time is trying to steer people who Google AI voice to Voice on the 3 to actually buy human voice. That's most of my time right now. So most of the time of Voice on 3 is focused on more marketing efforts right now. What we're building is security layers and basically we call it the Voice on 3 cloud. I think we're going to make a switch where ideally you're going to add all your personal terms and conditions on audio files directly instead of having to put them in a message, where you can say in every audio file that you send over, it says in the metadata of that file, you can only use it for this, and this, and this.
Oh.
And it will put that into a cloud, and you always have that as an origin statement of this is usage for it. And brings us back to the data argument that we had before.
Yeah, it's like origin statement. That's a nice phrase.
So we're focusing. Our product is mostly focused on doing that. Then on videos is a big one for us, and we have to figure out a way to navigate the end of casting that's coming.
So you think it's a ticking time bomb as far as auditioning is going, and AI is going to be the reason for that.
I think people who cast are going to be mostly if I listen to casting directors on the conferences I go to, I'm shocked that they listen to 200 auditions for each project, right?
Yeah.
I think for those kind of big budget items, it will still work, but for everything that's not either video games at that level or I am trying to book a full roster, it is unlikely that casting will live a long life. which is a shame because it's also a way to keep practicing if you're just getting started. But I think it will move more and more and more towards a direct contact basis where I just want to meet you and learn about your voice in the shortest amount of time.
And it's that relationship as well, isn't it, that you've built?
So we're all trying to reconfigure our platform in such a way that it makes that as frictionless as possible. It makes it easier to meet you, and we need to, we need to make that search more for everybody rather than just the people.
But you have that variety as well. That somebody is just not going to have those connections with those people, are they? So you do still have that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other question I was going to ask you was regarding the booking system. Will there or could there ever be an incentive to get customers to book you via the platform rather than directly? Now, I get this, actually, because I personally prefer it when... Is there?
They can book you on the platform. You mean directly on the platform?
Yeah, no, but like incentivize them to do that rather than book you off platform. I think the reason why I saw this, like, I resonated with it because if anyone books me via the platform, it just removes that headache of having to wait to get paid late, basically. Because on the platform, they pay up front, and then voice ones. You guys pay in like 48 hours, don't you? It's really quick.
Yeah, and we try to do it under 48 hours, even though the team tells me keep saying that's 7 days that we promise, but we do it under 48 hours practically. So we would like people to get paid through it because that's another revenue stream for us. What happens is, let's say it's $100 project, the client then suddenly pays 112, so about 10% goes to us on top of it, so we don't take from the budget. We're trying to build tools for clients to make it easier for them to do the invoicing on Voice on the 3 as well, because they feel I also don't want to build a connection to a lot of voice actors, but we still want to make sure that we don't get in the way too much. Yeah. Because I know, so there's a balance there. So we want to have it optional. As soon as we make it more obligatory, we're also going to piss off a big section of our voice actors. So we want to make it work in such a way that people want to use it rather than force people to use it.
I wonder if there's like, I don't know, if there was like a, I don't know, like say for example, like I know if I had a choice, I'd get people to use the platform because it removes that huge headache of having to chase payments. They pay up front, the money's in escrow, and I get paid when it's confirmed. Yeah. So, but if there was like an option to say, book with me via Voice 123 and get a 10% discount, for example, just that incentive for them to use the platform.
That you'd cover the cost of
So essentially, I'd replace the cost that you're charging them, and it gets them on the platform then.
Yeah, clients don't want to use that. They have their own system.
Yeah,
like,
I
there will
wouldn't
always
want
be
that.
the majority of people that want. Like I could see Jen shaking her head. I don't want that. So it's such a that would be the ideal version of Voice on 3 where you can customize your own experience. I want this, and this, and as a client as well. But it requires
Just do that next, would you, Rolf? Just do that next.
It requires a little bit of a bigger team before we get to that place. But that is the idea where you can set up your own preferences, and I want to do it this way.
But you're not Fiverr. You've got your identity. I think Fiverr does a thing a certain way where they allow people to customize things to Kingdom Come. But I think I get it. I know exactly what you're trying to say. And I suppose if the data shows that people don't like it, then I guess well, you know who you are. You sent that question. I guess it's a no. So
this has been so interesting.
Listen, I've loved it.
That's fun. Yeah.
I've thoroughly. I could continue going for hours. There's. I'm sure people will listen to this like, why did you ask this? Why did you ask that?
Yeah, we're probably going to get those messages
in the
now.
moment. We don't plan anything. We just talk and we just let it take its natural form. So.
Why don't we do plan? There is some thought that goes into these questions.
Honestly, Rolf, thank you so much for your time.
No, I enjoyed it. And if you feel like this is done and we should have asked the 20 other things, like I would love to come back and do it again. I had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that will. I can definitely see that being the case.
And then we can hold you accountable for when things have happened as well.
We'll call it your 6-month review. Right, so last time you said you were going to do, how are you getting on?
Are you taking notes? Got your smart targets sorted.
Okay, well I guess that's it, folks. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. There's a tremendous amount of stuff to unpack in this one, and again, Rolf, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we hope to we'll look forward to see you again in the future. All right,
Bye.
folks.
See you next week.
Take care, folks. Bye bye.